everybody! Welcome to MaffmanJones Movie Reviews. I'm your host, John Maffio, and today's featured movie is the incredible Spider-Man 3 directed by Sam Raimi. It's the last film in his trilogy that released in 2007. It stars returning cast members like Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, James Franco, but some newcomers include Topher Grace, who plays Eddie Brock, Thomas Hayden Church, who plays Flint Marko, aka the Sandman, along with a couple others. It just basically picks up where the second film left off. Peter and MJ are together, and they're thinking about marriage. At least Peter's thinking about marriage, and he's looking to propose to her. You have Eddie Brock coming into the Daily Bugle picture because he's going to stir some drama with Peter Parker with the photos. Flint Marko is a criminal on the run, but he might not be a criminal because he has a daughter who has a critically deprecating disease. And there's also some kind of symbiote that just randomly descends onto Earth and wreaks havoc upon Peter's emotional life. Now, truth to be told, when this film was releasing back in 2007, it was one of my most hyped movies of all time. It was the first movie that I followed for several years leading up to it. I was on various hype boards getting ready to watch the movie and speculating with other people what was going to happen in it. And when it finally came out, I saw it in Arizona with a couple friends and family, and I ended up really liking it a lot. Like, I think I loved it at the time. But over the course of the last year after that, and then years following, I've realized just how much of a disappointment Spider-Man 3 is. There are variables within the film that are actually enjoyable, but for the most part, in the grand aspect of things, if I was older and had seen Spider-Man 3 for the first time, I would have wanted to kill myself, probably. I want to start this ride smoothly with what I thought was good about the film, and what I still think is good about the film. It's a well-made movie, for the most part. As much of a convoluted mess as it is, it's very entertaining. Some of the story elements come together really well and create for very emotional weight that does pay off. It's colorful, it's vibrant. The Spider-Man action sequences are still a lot of fun to watch. When he's fighting Sandman in the subway and on the city streets. The final fight between him, Sandman, giant Godzilla Sandman, and Venom is also entertaining. The music's really good by new-coming composer Christopher Young because Danny Elfman left in Spider-Man 2. It is a film that once you've become desensitized by knowing what it really is as a conclusion to the trilogy, you can watch it whenever and enjoy it, as long as you know what it is. But if you go into it for the first time thinking it's going to be as good as the first two, oh man, you gotta hold the brakes because you're gonna die. Now to get into the problems of the movie. From a film buff and aspiring filmmaker's perspective, you could tell that Sam Raimi just didn't have the same heart he had with the first two movies that he did with this one. You could tell that there's so much more studio influence from this movie than there was with the first two. Of course, studio influence is the big thing with Hollywood blockbusters, always, but Sam Raimi had a vision for Spider-Man, and he sort of fulfilled on the big screen with the first two movies. And I don't think he wanted to make a third one, or I think he did, but his vision of Spider-Man 3 was much different than the studios. He wanted to have Vulture and Sandman, but the studios wanted Venom, because Venom is one of the most popular characters, one of the most popular villains and characters in Spider-Man and comic book lore. People love him. I loved him then, before the movie was coming out, and I love him now. So people wanted to see him on the screen so damn bad, and this made studios power hungry to see him on screen. So essentially he was forced to place Venom into the storyline with the symbiote. Sam Raimi's influence style-wise is still there, but you could tell that studios just wanted a different product. They wanted a product that sold more to audiences, more than an actual film that would stand the test of time, like the first two movies have. There are just some really questionable things that happen in this movie that make you scratch your head, but then thinking about it and reflecting upon it over and over again, it would make sense if he was trolling Sony by taking some of the actions that he took in precaution with Spider-Man 3. Right down to the very core, Spider-Man 3 is a clutter of cluttered messes. There's way too much going on, some of the subplots go nowhere or go in directions that are really, really indisputably questionable, and it's just not satisfying. Things just happen out of nowhere. First of all, the symbiote. There could have been a great story with the symbiote, because the symbiote came from space, and I was going to say that JJJ's son, the astronaut, could have gone to space, gone to the moon, had an accident on the moon, and brought the symbiote back to Earth. And that could have been that. But no, instead, we get a scene where we see MJ and Peter discussing life and how they love each other, boo boo boo, and they drive away on his cute little motorcycle, and then out of nowhere, without a shadow of a doubt, like just no build-up at all, the symbiote crashes like a meteor from the sky onto Central Park, and somehow latches like this onto Peter's bike and his license plate. It's so obviously rushed. You can also tell how rushed Flint Marko's storyline was. Flint Marko, aka Sandman, is a misunderstood criminal who has a daughter and a wife who he divorced, right, I think, or just having very severe family issues, and he's trying to find a cure for his daughter. So everything that he does, his motivations are for his daughter. And that's a good story for a villain. It makes you feel sympathetic with him, and the actor was good in the role. I really thought he was great. I thought Sandman was great. But then his character arc goes nowhere. At the end of the movie, he just floats away. And he's like, well, I forgive you, Peter. And he just goes away. But you never find out what happens to his daughter. His arc is never completed. He just fucking goes away. That's not satisfying at all. His daughter could have died a day later. And all of what he had done would have been for nothing. Topher Grace as Eddie Brock, aka Venom. I didn't think he was bad. I still don't think he was bad. Sam Raimi was trying to make a certain character with this movie, if he wasn't trolling, and he took like an ultimate different spin on Eddie Brock, because Eddie Brock's supposed to be a charismatic, charming guy. He's basically the polar anti-opposite of Peter Parker. And he's like what Peter Parker would do. If Peter Parker took the dark side of the Force, that's what Venom is. And I like Topher Grace in the role, but he was written and developed so underwhelmingly. And then when he becomes Venom, I always thought the Venom sequence was cool, but then when he is actually Venom, it's bullshit. When Venom has the need to speak, not only does like the symbiote unfold to show Topher Grace's really annoyingly weird face with like the teeth and everything, but he's talking like Topher Grace. You'd think he would have an altered, terrifying voice for Venom, because Venom doesn't sound like Topher Grace. It's not intimidating at all. The way he gets killed is the most obnoxiously terrible thing I've ever seen in my life. Basically, using the power of sound, which is the biggest weakness for symbiote, Peter gets Topher Grace out of the symbiote, and it becomes this giant symbiote monster, and Peter does the right thing and throws a bomb at it, and Topher Grace for some reason is so attached to the symbiote that he jumps back into it and blows up? What? I still don't understand why he jumped back into it. Yes, it's trying to show how consumed he was by having the power that he did, but he threw a fucking grenade at the symbiote. What the I don't even know. The James Franco Harry Osborn New Goblin subplot, which was so greatly set up in the second movie, fails in execution in the third movie. Where his story arc goes is just one of the dumbest things too. Right down to the whole thing with the exposition with the butler, with the glider, and his father, and then him sacrificing himself for Peter. And that was actually a really sweet scene in my opinion when Harry dies and he says that Peter is his best friend, and all three of them, MJ, Peter, and Harry, are just looking at the sunset. I actually thought that's one of the best scenes in the whole movie. It's actually emotionally uplifting, and it still makes me teary-eyed to this day. But the whole arc for Harry in this movie release from beginning to end sucks. The whole arc between Peter and MJ and their relationship struggles sucks. It doesn't go anywhere. It leaves off at a very somber part, and I do like the ending of Spider-Man 3, how they're basically just trying to rekindle their relationship at the jazz bar. It just truly felt like Toby and MJ were bored with each other, like on set and off set. And part of the reason why it was so monotonous and mundane was because of the introduction to Gwen Stacy, who was going to be a catalyst to the struggles of Peter Parker's life with his relationship issues. And it was so weird to see her in this movie in the first place, being played by Bruce Dallas Howard. The father is played by James Cromwell, I think his name is, but he's in like every movie known to man. And they even have a sequence where the crane goes through the skyscraper and Gwen Stacy falls. It's a cool looking sequence visually, but it serves no purpose for the plot. The symbiote storyline was executed well too, until he becomes, well, you know. That sequence when he's walking down the street trying to impress women is unremarkably, embarrassingly hilarious. And the scene at the bar where he goes out on a date with Gwen Stacy and he does that little dance and he's walking around being smooth. That's not Spider-Man. That's not Spider-Man at all. The theme of this movie in particular is forgiveness. Because Peter Parker's going through all these struggles, as he always does. That's just something that Peter Parker goes through. That's part of the Peter Parker line. He just has to struggle in his life because his life just sucks. And he has to learn to forgive. And there's a subplot with Sandman being the real killer of Uncle Ben, which is also really dumb and it's convoluted and it makes no sense. There's no backup that resonates with the reasons why it should happen. It just happens and it makes no sense for the story. He has to forgive Sandman, Flint Marko, for killing Uncle Ben. And that would be fine and all, but there's no satisfying feelings to him forgiving Flint for Uncle Ben at the end of the movie. Because everybody just goes through an underdeveloped mess of a plot that nothing feels real, even if you do suspend your feelings of disbelief. And Peter Parker truly really doesn't learn all that much, even if he did truly forgive Flint for killing Uncle Ben. He could be lying through his teeth at that moment. Hours before, he was walking in an alleyway of New York City, and Venom just sneaks up upon him, and Flint chokes him thinking he's Spider-Man, and then goes, he's not Spider-Man, and throws him away. Due to that scene, and him being so easily influenced to teaming up with Venom to kill Spider-Man, why should Peter trust Flint in forgiving him? No, it makes no sense. Spider-Man 3 is the worst in Sam Raimi's trilogy. It's rushed, it's cluttered, it's convoluted and contrived, it's got too many characters, too many storylines going on, and it's just a very, very sad and unfortunate movie. It's enjoyable though, it has good moments, it's just, thinking about what it could have been, just makes it a very disappointing movie overall. On its own, it's not terrible. But as a conclusion to one of the biggest superhero trilogies of all time, it pretty much sucks. This movie is genuinely, in my opinion, a 2 out of 5 stars. It's the Sam Worthington. It's not completely terrible, but it's not worth your time. To turn the tables to you guys, what do you think of Spider-Man 3? Is there anybody out there who actually loves Spider-Man 3? Because honestly, there are people I know who love it too. You don't have to lie. I'm not going to scold you, or kill you, or cut your dick off. Nope. I'm not a bastard like Ramsay Snow. I won't do that. If you enjoyed my review, please like this video and subscribe to MaffmanJones so you'll never miss a review or video from me ever again. Check out Facebook, Twitter, and We Live Film accounts from me too in the info box. See you guys next time.